All right. So we's live. I'll give it a 3 count and we'll roll. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Jay Niblick here again with Bryan Arzani, Intermetrics. We're here talking about how to make money as a consultant, really. How do we grow a profitable consulting practice? So 20 to profitability. We're going to give you 20 minutes. Brian's the one that wanted to curtail this discussion down to 20 minutes. So we start doing these podcasts because, as he says, if you got an hour to listen to stuff, that's probably the number one reason why you're not making enough money. 20 minutes, give or take. I am starting the timer now. So, Bryan, say hey.
What is up, Jay? Holy cow. We are at the end of a year. Having some awesome time goes faster and faster. So nonstop, man. It's a great time.
17th, man. So I don't know, this might be one of the last ones we do for the year. Possibly.
Yeah, I think we should tell people too. I mean, we've got our IMX Mastermind on Facebook, and I'm popping videos off a couple times a week.
Yeah.
We've got consultants from, it's interesting, we've got consultants from other content providers out there that are jumping in and becoming, IMX consultants, but they're still doing the X maybe curriculum. We could just say, the X could be Dale Carnegie, could be Action Coach, could be whatever. I mean, all these different ones. But they're coming to us because our platform for assessments creates such stickiness that allows them to get more of their training gigs out there. And so I'm throwing videos out a couple times a week that give you different ideas on how to grow your consulting practice. But this is in the trenches. We're talking DTS. This is Jay's baby. He taught me it. And you know what I did? I took this little baby and I grew him up and I fed him really well. And he's now this buff little sucker that goes out and wins gold medals. So DTS is a very fond treasure of mine, man. Well, thank you.
It's like a chia pet, we just smear the crap on there and you just water it and it takes care of itself. Nothing's completely passive residual income. We're not pushing any of that crap. What we're doing is giving more education. Today we're talking about the diagnostic sales process. If you didn't see last week's video, we were talking about do it, teach it, or transfer it, support it. Depends on when we're talking about it. But that's one of the core philosophies at Intermetrics. Our intent is to help you grow a profitable consulting practice. We own psychometric instruments like the DISC index, the values index, the attribute index, the organizational health checkup, all of these different tools that allow you to go out and understand people better and help your customers understand their talent and hire and manage and lead and coach, make better teams, all this stuff. But the core tenets are we've got to make sure that you guys know how to develop a profitable practice. So DTS is one model we talked about. Watch that show from last week. Today we're talking about the second core tenet, the big center, the two things that really center in our universe at Intermetrics. Didn't make this shit up. It's in a book called The Profitable Consultant, but it's because we've got 1,500 something consultants in 52 countries around the world, working with more than 10,000 corporate clients and doing millions of profiles and assessments a year. I think we're doing one every 2.9 seconds or something like that. Or 9 seconds, I think it was. These people have they've taught us this is what's working for them. And so we've just captured these best practices and we're spitting back out to you guys and we're giving it to you for free because you guys need it. There's not really great resources out there to help people. So let us know. We're doing 20 minutes here. We're going to talk about the diagnostic sales process. So what is that? Diagnostic sales process. Let me back up. Everything you know about selling could be wrong when it comes to this part. Not all of it, but it has to be reframed. And the majority of what we were taught when I was in sales as professional sales. Brian's a professional salesperson. We supported our families doing this. So outside sales, traveling around. I put 60,000 miles a year on a car, driving around from hospital to hospital, selling orthopedic implants. Johnson & Johnson taught me well how to do it, but there's a difference. And here's what you have to first understand. This is the only place where you are both salesperson and that which is being sold. So I know you got to sell you, they got to buy you, people buy you and all this crap. It's true, but in the end, they're not. They're not buying you. They have to believe in you. They have to understand you. But in the end, they're buying the car. They're buying the house. They're buying the widgets. They're buying the thing or the service or the financial. They're buying something other than you in almost all other sales roles. So
Jay, I call that, I call it, it's the net effect. So they're not buying you. They're not buying the training program. They're buying a deep-seated desire in their heart that maybe they haven't been able to put into words, but they're buying the net effect of whatever it is that you're going to do for them. And that's kind of what your DTS models help me to be able to do, is to slow people down and to diagnose exactly what the real thing is. Because until they identify it and put words to it, we've got nothing, man.
well, and this is why the diagnostic sales process is so different. And we coined that term because you really want to stay as the consultant coach. Some of you coach, some of you consult. So we always just refer to it as the consultant coach. But you've got to focus on being the consultant. You've got to focus on being the coach. You want to make sales, but you don't want to come across as a sales guy, even if you're the best salesperson in the world. What's the typical association that people have in emotions and words when you describe physician?
No, I mean, they think arrogant,
Expert.
egotistical.
Well, no, I mean, think.
Oh, you're talking positive.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm going to the physician because they can tell me what's wrong with me and fix me.
Parents are excited when their kids say, I want to grow up and be an astronaut. I want to grow up and be a physician or even an attorney.
Oh, yeah.
They think they're hardworking. They know a lot. They're thought leaders. They're intelligent. They're trustworthy. They're dependable.
Yep.
Tell your parents, hey, I'm going to go up and go be a salesperson, or average Joe on the street. First 5 words that come to your mind when I say physician versus salesperson. It's not a comparison. The vast majority of the time, the physician gets the positive descriptors. The salesperson is greedy, not trustworthy, just want their money in my wallet. So everything I take action on that helps position me as a salesperson can hurt me, because I'm also supposed to be positioning myself as the authority, as the thought leader, as the subject matter expert. If you're the coach and you want them to hire you to come in, they have to see you as that. So this dichotomy of, I'm going to act like a salesperson. I'm going to use tie-down questions. And hey, Bryan, if I can get a plan together that's going to fit your budget today, can we go ahead and do business? It's a tie-down question. It's like the used car sales. I can do the Benjamin Franklin close, the puppy dog close. There's a variety of things we can do from a sales standpoint. I read Selling to Vito. I know what keywords to use. Not the same, because I'm not selling something other than myself. So diagnostic sales process, lots more stuff on it. Get inside Intermetrics. We can show you a whole lot more about it, and you'll learn to be an expert on it in the 13 minutes that we have. Let's just go into a little more about what it stands for. So there is a basic rule, the golden rule to me from a sales standpoint when you're a consultant coach, is he or she who identifies the cause of the problem gets to fix it. So I'll go over that again. He or she who identifies the cause of the problem gets to fix it. So my task in the morning when I wake up is to not go find people to sell to. My task is to go find people who have a problem and identify that problem. And then I'll show them, here's what's causing that problem. And real quick, take the physical analogy and I'll let you have it, Bryan. You got a problem with your knee. It hurts. So you go find a physician. You're talking to the physician. My knee hurts. How bad does it hurt? So they qualify the pain, the emotions and the physical and financial ramifications, all of this stuff. They really flesh out a little bit what the pain is and how bad it is. And then do they say, you know what? I think it's a meniscal tear. So let's operate next week. How many people are going to say, oh, well, hell, yeah, put me under. I want a tube in my lungs and I love general anesthesia and a $60,000. Yeah, let's go for it. No, the physician says, well, I think it may be, but I don't know for sure. So let's find out. And so they diagnose by first looking at what's the problem. Then they seek to find the cause of the problem. And that's the step that most consultants lose. We were just on a call last week and they typically want to go, salespeople aren't selling? Oh, let's talk about the solution. And then they talk about their solution and they show up and throw up, like we always say, well, can I have 30 minutes in your calendar next week, Mr. Smith, to come over and talk to you about our sales training? And our sales training delivers X, Y, and Z, and we can get it. And they're like, why isn't this guy giving me 30 minutes of his time? Well, they know it's going to be a sales pitch. I got to work around that, try to struggle. In our world, wow, that's crazy. You're saying your salespeople suck? How bad do they suck? Interesting. Why do you think that is? You move to the hypothetical cause. So problem, cause, solution are the 3 key pieces to keep in mind. The problem is our salespeople suck. Why do you think that is, Bryan? And they ask them and they tell you, but you want to put forth a hypothetical cause. You're right, Bryan. Maybe it is that they're just in a bad market. But you know what I've seen as a sales trainer for 20 years? or, strategic planner, whatever the problem is. A lot of the times it's that they don't have the natural talents to be a great salesperson. They suffer from call reluctance. Now I'm describing things that we measure in our profile. And in the end, my only sale is, I don't know, but why don't we find out? Why don't you take the MRI and let's see if it's a meniscal tear? Why don't you take one of our profiles and let's see if the salespeople you have really don't have these natural talents, like I hypothesize they don't.
Right.
Well, what's that going to cost? Nothing. I don't charge for the profiles. I'll give it to all 10 of your folks. I don't care, because I'm not going to ask for 30 minutes to come back in and say, here's what I think the solution is. I'm going to go back in and say, I got the profiles on those guys. Guess what I see? You want to know what I see? And they'll cancel appointments. When you call them and say, I got the profile back, now I know why that guy can't lead anybody. Now I know why she's always fighting with him. Now, they're like, what? Just like the physician that calls and says, left a voicemail, I got your MRI results back. I definitely see why your knee hurts. Give me a call. Let's talk. You're dropping everything to call me or you and say, what? Because if this is one of the biggest problems that keeps them up at 2:00 at night, which it should be, biggest pain, they're dying to find out. And you can get on the phone and you go on for 15 minutes or hours if you really wanted to. I think that's a problem and mistake to go too long, but you're telling them, here's why this guy's not selling the way you want, or a good leader, or has all the turnover, whatever the problem is. We can identify the natural causes of it based on behavior, talent, motivations, all the things that we can profile. And they're like, well, how the hell do we fix that? And you just, at the end, got them to ask you for your solution. You're not pushing the rope. This system creates the situation where they pull the rope. And Bryan, how many times when you go through this and talk about a profile with somebody, describing to their boss, the manager, whatever, or themselves, why this problem exists? How many times do they look at that physician and go, cool, all right, well, thanks, bye.
What's crazy is we've got one of the things as a consultant who's also the product, like you said, which is the number one thing that we address in that book, is to figure out, how do we find people who are willing to go through the exercise of the conversation to really truly walk back. How long has it been a problem, right? What else have you tried? How did it work? All of those things. And as you get them to start to walk backwards and go, you know what? Yeah, I guess I was, out with the kids and I stepped right and I twisted. I felt the first tweak. Okay. So as we look at getting them the more that they'll describe to us the path of where they've been, by the time we get to the idea that we don't have the solution, but we have a set of diagnostic processes. I like to use the word diagnostic processes, or a diagnostic, program that can help us figure out exactly with acute accuracy where it's at. And they'll say, oh, is it a test? They'll say, it's a series of different activities. One of them is an online activity. But if we only have a test, which a lot of folks have tests out there, Jay, don't they? And they say, well, the test says this, right? Well, they only have one data point that they're pulling from. And to use a statistical correlation, if you have one data point that correlates to this, it's a factor of 0.4, which is only a 16% correlation. So maybe they have a statistical correlation that says, yes, this data point means this. Well, we are using 3 psychometric instruments that are 3 completely different psychologies, which are tripling our capability. And so with acute accuracy, we might be able to say, like you said, we may have given them an MRI, and the MRI doesn't show too much. In the x-ray, we can see some tissue, but you know what? In that PET scan, we're seeing some abnormal growth of tissue. And because we're using 3 different instruments, as we have that conversation, we're giving them purview into things that, Jay, how often have you seen that? Or,
what we do is, of course, when we can break them apart, you can give just any 1 or 2 or 3 at the same time combined. But it's what, why, and how. What natural talents does a person have based on how they think and make decisions? It's a profile called the Attribute Index based on Dr. Hartman's work from Yale and MIT. Why are they motivated to use them? That's a totally different assessment based on Dr. Spronger's work and Alport, Vernon Lindsay, Rokeach, all these guys who studied that. And then how do they prefer, which is DISC model from Dr. Marston at Harvard. So if you combine all these 3, we diagnose what's going on. Whatever the human talent issue is, whether they're not able to get along with people, they're not fitting the job well, they're not able to do the tasks, they're not motivated. If the problem has to do with people, and in today's day and age, I have yet to find somebody that says, here's a problem, and it doesn't ultimately go back to decisions or lack thereof that people were making, quality of it. So this is the big difference. People want to talk about the worst sale is I'm just out there barking my product. Hey man, what do you do? Cool. Well, let me tell you about what I do. Just barking. There's no interaction. You're not seeking to understand before being understood. You're not questioning your way to the sale. What you're talking about when you say, what's the problem and how can we figure out what's causing it? You're not acting like a salesperson. You're acting like a consultant coach. And so it's the coolest thing in the world because you don't have to be a super strong salesperson to sell your consulting coaching. You just have to be a good consultant coach. And then you go out and you find chances to expose people to you, the consultant coach. I tell people, I'm in sales mode in this regard. It's like they're already a paying customer. I take that off the table. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to say, look, what's the thing that keeps you up at 2:00 at night? Why do you think that's the case? Problem, define it a little bit. Cause, don't jump straight to really, oh man, well, we do sales training. We do team building. I do strategic planning. I could come in and help you with, I don't even know what's wrong yet. Talk about step 2 is the hypothetical cause. And you're humble. You don't know for sure. Physicians pretty much know this sounds like an ACL tear, but they don't go, it's an ACL tear. Oh, nope, you got an ACL. They're always going to say, I think it is, but let's make sure.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, how do we do that? So, well, let me give you the MRI. In our case, our diagnostic tools, that's why it's the diagnostic sales process. We use diagnostic assessments. That's what the discs and the values and the AI are. Those profiles, and the organizational health checkup is one that's on business instead of the individual. Those diagnose what's going on. They put numbers. This company's called Inner Metrics for a reason. We're putting metrics on things that are intangible. The personalities, the behaviors, the motivations, the values, all these things can be quantified and they can be done accurately. Again, we've got millions and millions of profiles out there being used, thousands of organizations. We've done the validity and the reliability work, but this model gets you to a point where that individual sitting there, rapt attention, going, tell me why. This is a big problem. Why is this person not able to get their people to work well? Why won't they delegate? Why is this the thing that's happening? You put forth a hypothetical cause, they will get that profile on somebody else, or it may be on themselves. Maybe the problem is them. Yep. I hate my job. I used to love it. And I built this company and now it sucks and I can't stand it and I'm not motivated. And let's see what's going on. Why do you think that is? Okay. Right. Let's profile it, see what's going on. Because now all of a sudden you're doing all these things that you don't like to do. You're not naturally talented at doing, and you just moved into that role by mistake, by necessity. So I'm going over the report. What is the first thing they're going to say? And so, Bryan, based on numbers, what percentage of the time you're in a sales mode, right? They're not a customer, in other words, and you're going over the results of a profile for one of their employees or themselves, and that person says, gee, thanks, and walks away. Or versus, well, how do we fix that is normally the question. What do we do about that? How do we fix it? What do you suggest?
Well, and that's the thing I think is so unique about what we do is we spend so much time with all of our existing coaches and consultants teaching them to continually understand how to transition that conversation from just leaving it completely external to making it intrinsically important to them, to where they start to feel that. And then they look at you, they look at me and they go, what do I do about it? And then you sit back and go, what do you want to do? And that 100% of the time, if you've done your job. And so one of the things we tell new consultants is to go out and give the profile, give the entire set of diagnostic instruments to 25 people that that are in your life. And that during the course of that conversation, if they don't say to you, man, can I do this with? And then fill in the blank. If they don't say that, then you haven't arrived. Because every time you go through this much data, you have to get that response because every one of our consultants are that good. 95%,
99%, I heard this guy has a problem. I think it's this. Let's put forth a profile. Maybe the sales leader doesn't have a great empathy or emotional intelligence. Maybe your salespeople don't have the natural talents it takes. Maybe these employees aren't well aligned in their role with their values, and that's why their engagement sucks. And they only do the bare minimum and do it, but nothing more than what's asked of them. That's why all these things exist. 99% of the time, somebody goes, okay, what do we do about it?
Right.
Yes, it's a meniscal tear. What do we do about it? How do we fix it? And I've created a situation where I'm just being the consultant. And that's, of course, the only real sales model you hit there is to have the call to action. You've got to close. You've got to ask for the business. You've got to make the proposal. we talk in the training and all the book about how to actually write those proposals in the best way. But they're asking you. They're opening the door and saying, can you help me with this? And that's the easiest thing in the world because you're being invited in. So big difference is diagnostic sales process. We're going to drill the hell out of it with you when you join. You're going to have it upside down, left, right, backwards, forwards. You'll know how to do it. And any product or solution that you want to push, you can. But wake up in the morning seeking to find people with a problem and help identify the cause of it. Your business is going to grow because he or she who identifies the cause of the problem gets to fix it. So Bryan, closing thoughts in 8 seconds?
You know what? It's just it's a need every one of us consultants have to have new ideas from people who aren't making this shit up, that actually are doing it every day. So that's what we do.
That's our 20 to profitability, folks. Thank you very much, Bryan. Everybody, go sell some shit.
Later.